Hello friends, in this lecture I will be talking on laws of thermodynamics with more emphasis on second law of thermodynamics. So, thermodynamics is the branch of physics that deals with the relationships between heat and other forms of energy. In particular, it describes how thermal energy is converted and from one other forms of energy and how it affects matter. Heat is the prominent factor in the study of thermal engineering. We know the popular statement that is energy can be converted from one form to another or transferred from one object to another. For example, a stove burner converts electrical energy to heat and conducts that energy through the pot to the water. This increases the kinetic energy of the water molecules, causing them to move faster and faster. At a certain temperature, that is at the boiling point, the atoms have gained enough energy to break free of the molecular bonds of the liquid and escapes as vapor. Everything exists in nature somehow transfers and converts the energy from one to another. Particularly in this picture, which shows that some of the popular devices like an automobile engine, a refrigerator, air conditioner, and steam generator, which is also called as the boilers, or heat exchanger, condenser, etc., works on the principle and laws of thermodynamics. So, in today's lecture, we are going to study different laws of thermodynamics. As I said, more emphasis will be provided to the second law of thermodynamics. Then we will be discussing on the concept of heat source and heat sink, concept of heat pump, heat engine, and the refrigerator. So let's begin with what are the different laws of thermodynamics. So the zeroth law, we'll talk on this first. Now we know that the first, second and third law of thermodynamics are also there and they are well known. However, there is a fourth law that underpins all of the other laws. It was devised after all three laws, but it was so fundamental and provided such a basis for the other laws and that it was termed as zeroth law of thermodynamics. The zeroth law of thermodynamics is actually an observation. If two thermodynamic systems are in thermal equilibrium with the third system, then they are also in thermal equilibrium with each other. If all three bodies, let's consider, if all three bodies are in thermal equilibrium, then we can say that they all have the same temperature, and this is where the significance of zeroth law lies. It lets us to establish the temperature as a measurable and universal property of matter. If something is measurable, then we can create a scale for it. For example, we can measure the length with scales of millimeter, centimeter, meter, kilometer, foot, etc. The first law of thermodynamics, also known as law of conservation of energy, which states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Energy can only be transferred or changed from one form to another. And most importantly is the second law of thermodynamics, and it has two statements. One is the Kelvin-Planck statement and other is the Clausius statement. Let's discuss about each of these two statements in detail. Kelvin-Planck statement, it is related to heat engine, but before discussing the second law in detail, it's important to know about some terms like heat reservoir, heat source and heat sink. So let's get know about it. Heat reservoir, the name itself tells that it is the reservoir of infinite amount of energy, so that addition of heat into the reservoir or removing of heat from the reservoir cannot affect its temperature. In other words, the temperature of heat reservoir always remains constant. Here we will come across the two types of heat reservoir with whom the system interacts. If the system is absorbing the heat, now in the picture you can see the system is there, and just above the system you see the heat reservoir is there, which is called as a source, and it is at temperature T1. So why we are calling it as a source, that we will see. So if the system is absorbing the heat, like here the arrows showing the flow of heat from the heat reservoir at a temperature T1 to the system. So here the system is absorbing the heat from the heat reservoir, then such a heat reservoir is called as source, which is written in a bracket as a source. On the other hand, if the system is rejecting the heat to the reservoir, then such a reservoir is called as sink. So let's see that here heat reservoir, which is at temperature T1, is supplying heat or energy Q1 to the system, and then system is doing the work W, and not all the energy which is supplied by the source is getting converted into work, but some amount of energy is getting lost, which is Q2 here, and this energy is getting lost to the another kind of heat reservoir, and we are calling it as a sink. So what is source? Source is nothing but the heat reservoir which supplies the energy to the system. However, heat reservoir which absorbs the heat from the system is called as sink. However, both are the heat reservoirs, but one is supplying heat to the system and another is absorbing the heat from the system, and hence we call them as a source and the sink. Now let's try to understand the Kelvin-Planck statement through the source and the sink concept diagram. So most importantly, you should remember that Kelvin-Planck statement is related to heat engine, and it states that it is impossible for any device that operates on a cycle to receive heat from a single reservoir and produce the same amount of work. So while it says that our system converting works to an equivalent energy transfer, then that means work can get converted into heat. 100% work will get converted into 100% heat. That is possible, but the 100% heat cannot get converted into 100% work. That is, a device converting a heat to an equivalent energy transfer as a work is impossible, and a system converting work to an equivalent energy transfer is possible. So let's see, here again we have the heat engine as a system, and we have a heat reservoir at a temperature T1, which is a source. So source is going to supply the energy Q1, let's say 100 kilojoule of energy it is supplying to the heat engine. After absorbing the energy of 100 kilojoule, engine will do some work. So here this diagram shows that the amount of energy absorbed by the heat engine is completely getting converted into work, that is 100 kilojoule of energy absorbed getting converted into 100 kilojoule of work. That means the energy rejected or the heat rejected to the surrounding is zero, which is not possible at all, right? So what is possible? Let's look at it. So heat engine is going to absorb the heat from the source, which is 100 kilojoule, and out of that heat engine will produce 35 kilojoule of work, and remaining 65 kilojoule of heat is getting rejected to the sink, which is at a temperature T2. And here we have to note that temperature T1 is greater than temperature T2. So this scenario is possible. That is what Kelvin's Planck statement is, which we have seen with the help of this source and sink diagram. So some amount of heat will be rejected all the time. It will not possible that the amount of heat supplied will completely gets converted into equivalent amount of work. So in simple words, we can say that a heat engine cannot have thermal efficiency of 100%. What does efficiency means? Efficiency is nothing but the ratio of output upon input. So if you look at this figure, first one, which is not possible where the output is the work, which is 100 kilojoule, and the input is Q1, which is also 100 kilojoule. So if you divide the work with Q1, then we have an efficiency of 100%, which is not possible. On the other hand, in the second figure, the amount of work produced by the engine is 35 kilojoule, and amount of heat supplied is 100 kilojoule. So if you divide the work done up by the input, that is output 35 upon input 100, then the figure obviously will not be 100%, and this is what possible, and this is what the Kelvin-Planck says. Now let's move to the Clausius statement. So Clausius statement is related to refrigerator. So as I told you to remember that the Kelvin-Planck statement is related to the heat engine, and now we are discussing the Clausius statement, which is related to the refrigerator. And now we know that this is very natural or intuitive that heat always flows from higher temperature to the lower temperature. For example, if we have a cup of hot tea at 45 degrees Celsius placed in a room which is at 25 degrees Celsius, then heat will flow from hot tea to the cold room, and the tea will get cooler to a temperature of a room, that is 25 degrees Celsius, and both room and the cup of tea will reach at the same temperature. That means heat cannot flow from lower temperature to the higher temperature naturally without any external work, but it is possible by doing some external work onto the system, which exactly happens in refrigerator. As we know that temperature of refrigerator's cabinet is much lower than the temperature of the room. So here is a refrigerator. Let's say it is at a temperature, the cabinet of the refrigerator is at 10 degrees Celsius and the room is at 35 degrees Celsius. So now as you see that naturally heat will always flows from the higher temperature to the lower temperature. So in this scenario of refrigerator in the room, the heat will flow from the room to the refrigerator. That will cause a rise in the temperature of the refrigerator cabinet, and the temperature of the cabinet will keep on rising until the temperature of the cabinet will reaches to the temperature for room. That means both will attain the equilibrium. So but this is undesirable. We want to keep the temperature of the cabinet 10 degrees Celsius and we have to maintain it over a period of a time. So in order to achieve this we have to do some work onto the refrigerator, and this is done by the compressor, obviously by supplying electrical energy to the compressor. So here we can maintain the temperature of the refrigerator which is lower than the temperature of surrounding, which is 35 degrees Celsius. But to do that we have to supply some energy, and with the help of that we can achieve the reverse flow of heat. That is, heat will flow from the lower temperature to the higher temperature by doing some work onto the system. So let's try to see through the source and sink concept diagram. So here now we have the refrigerator as a system, and above that you see we have a heat reservoir which is acting as a source. So obviously refrigerator is going to absorb the heat from the source, but the point to be noted here is what you can see, the source is now at the low temperature. So the temperature T1 of a source is lower than the temperature of the sink, which we will come in few moments in the picture. So see here, refrigerator is absorbing the heat, Q1 amount of heat, let's say 10 kilojoule of heat the refrigerator is receiving from the source, and work supplied is 0. We are not supplying the work to the refrigerator, and refrigerator is transferring the same amount of heat to the sink, that is T2. So this is not possible. So heat, you can see that the source is at a lower temperature and sink is at a higher temperature, and this is not possible. Heat will never flow from a lower temperature to the higher temperature without supplying any kind of work. So this situation is not possible. So we'll look at what is possible. So now if the source is supplying Q1 amount of heat to the refrigerator, and we are also supplying some amount of work to the refrigerator, then what will happen? After supplying 10 kilojoule of work to the refrigerator, heat will start to flow from the lower temperature source to the higher temperature sink. So here T2 is greater than T1, so heat is flowing from lower temperature to the higher temperature, but it is happening, or it is possible, just because we are supplying 10 kilojoule of work to the refrigerator, and hence heat is flowing from a lower temperature to the higher temperature. So here W, that is work done onto the system, is nothing but equal to Q2 minus Q1. So Q2 is higher than the Q1, and this is possible. So see here, the low temperature heat reservoir is like a cabinet which is at, let's say, 10 degrees Celsius. So we are absorbing the heat from the cabinet. So when we are absorbing the heat from the cabinet, the temperature of the cabinet will remain lower than the temperature of the room. So here sink is nothing but the room and the source is nothing but the cabinet. So when we are absorbing the heat from the cabinet, then obviously after removing the heat from the cabinet, the temperature of the cabinet will lower, and if we continue supply the work to the refrigerator, then it will continuously will keep on absorbing the heat from the cabinet, so it will keep the temperature of the cabinet low for over a period of time. Now let's move on to the next concept, which is the heat pump. Now in structure wise, means if you see the structure of this refrigerator, where source and the sinks are there, in between which the refrigerator is interacting with them. So for the heat pump also we will have the same structure of source, sink, but the difference is what? Let's see what will be the difference. So now here our system is heat pump, and heat pump is absorbing the heat from the low temperature heat reservoir, right? Let's say 10 kilojoule of heat that heat pump is extracting from the source or receiving from the source, and that is happening just because we are supplying some amount of work to the pump. So heat pump is extracting the heat from the source and rejecting more amount of heat to the sink. So here you can see the high temperature reservoir is sink, that means T2 is greater than T1. So what heat pump is doing here? Heat pump is extracting the heat from the source, keeping the source temperature lower over a period of a time, and rejecting more amount of heat to the sink, keeping the sink temperature higher over a period of a time. So it is nothing but the working of air conditioner in a winter. See, in a winter the surrounding temperature is low, so in a winter, in order to have comfort within the room, we should keep the temperature of our room to a comfort level, let's say around 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, which is a comfortable temperature range for a human being. And in a winter the temperature of the surrounding is much lower, and so we feel discomfort within the room during winter season due to the coldness. And uh, in some homes we incorporate the heaters to heat the room, but if we have an AC which also keeps the room hot, they in that AC, how it will work in winter is like the same, and that is what we call it as heat pump. Heat pump is pumping the heat from a lower temperature and delivering the heat to the higher temperature zone. So this is what happening when we are running AC in a winter, where heat pump is absorbing the heat from the lower temperature surrounding and rejecting that heat to the room, maintaining the temperature of a room higher than the surrounding, which keeps us comfortable within the room in a winter season. So this is all for this lecture. I will come with the new videos regarding this introduction of thermodynamics in next subsequent lecture. So till that time, goodbye, take care of yourself.